You look good.
Yeah. Looks good.
You don't.
What?
You look better than you sound.
Yeah. Hi, puppy. Hey, you did this to me. I did it to myself because I love him.
Well, you shouldn't put your face in his coat.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fine. I feel like there's...
Get out!
There's two types of people. They're both allergic. They're the ones who go, I can't have animals in my life, and they just put this bubble around them and they want to stay protected. Or they're the ones who go, no, animals are amazing and it's worth all the pain to put myself through.
Yeah, I think everyone's allergic to.
I think so. Yeah, in some level. But mine do this. It's weird, and like was here all week, all totally fine. And for whatever reason, just this morning, Riggs he unleashed the sickness.
I wonder if he just came into your room and sat on your face or something.
I think so. Who knows? Why does the body do
I woke up and he
what it
was
does?
standing on my chest one time.
It's also been freezing here. I haven't been eating great. I haven't been drinking a lot of water.
Make it sound like it's a prison.
No. I mean,
It's a prison for.
I haven't been eating healthily.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've been eating well, but I've had about 1,000 times more donuts than I'm used to in a given week. Mm-hmm. So I've had 3 with donut hole. But no, I think we were saying like, yeah, we could do 3 of these. I think that'd be okay. And you're like, no, I want to talk about the metaverse. And I'm like, yes.
I just kept reading it and getting pissed off. Why is that always the impetus for him? Like,
I think as you see what it is, or I guess
I'm like Andy Rooney.
There are a lot of know-nothing boobs who don't appreciate the modern art being put up in public places in all our cities. I know this is true because I'm one of those know-nothing boobs. Viewers send me things all the time, and it makes me cranky because it's stuff I don't want that's too good to throw away. Tonight we have a big surprise, a wonderful surprise. Mr. O.J. Simpson himself has promised to come in for a no-holds-barred interview.
Well, no, Andy Rooney's like, I'm old and I don't like this. You're more of like, this is all bullshit and it's just deflection from this company's trying to hide it. They're like, stop living in the past of all the horrible things we did and are still doing and embrace metaverse. And then people are like, what's happening? It's doing this while you're doing something over here. So
What did you call it earlier? You called it running and...
It's cutting and running.
Cutting and running.
Kind of. It's a form of it. It's metaverse is... I mean, I'm with them. I'm like, yeah, the name Facebook doesn't really work. But I think you just renamed to FB, you know? Mm-hmm. But then I guess people might think you're Fine Brothers.
Or just F.
Yeah.
F you.
We're just the big F you. Yeah, exactly. Like, we're the big F. Something like that. But Meta is such a huge pivot, especially for such a big company, that you have to know that strategically part of it was this name is so tainted. We need some new corporate identity.
We're not going to fix the actual problems. Like,
Right.
We're not going to address the the blood in this company that makes things awful culturally, and the lack of, I guess, responsibility we take for all. I mean, oh look, I'm on. There are both sides of that thing. Like, yeah, Facebook doesn't do jack shit as far as like reining in bozos with the misinformation and harassment and all this stuff, blah blah blah. But also like you're trying to keep going, and you're trying to, but you're also, people should be. People should read some books and get some education, but it gets harder and harder to get, so they can't. So they just get dumber and dumber, and so it's this dual force that Facebook's solution is like, oh, let's just change our name. We're not going to address any of the problems, but it's going to be 3D.
Kind of. I think I'm painting with a wide brush here. Any great mind, any innovator, any Steve Jobs type.
Keep going. I like what you're saying.
I think because we still have evolved monkey brains that aren't quite where they need to be, there are some people who feel enlightened or at least have a vision, and they're frustrated because the rest of the world doesn't understand it. And so when there's all this stuff of all the, pile on all the things Facebook has done, because that's just kind of what happens when a corporation gets so big, they're like, these will all be forgivable 10,000 years from now when, an avatar of Josh Duhamel sucking me off in a Las Vegas casino that's perfectly from the movie Casino. Like, don't you see? And like, no, I don't, because I only see what's in front of me, or what daily newsfeed is dripping into me, who got stampeded at a concert or whatever. And they're just like, these are the steps we need to take. These are the bodies that we must pave over in order to move forward. And so, yeah, the weird Zuckerberg types of the world probably are like, I have to shut this world out. I have to shut this noise out. And what I'm doing is right. But you also have to, like when I say great minds, great leaders, that includes dictators who go like, the dictators never saw themselves as the bad guys. So in their mind, they're like, metaverse is the future. This is where it's going. Which they're not wrong, but I think it's for me, it looks irresponsible, because you're trying to commercialize shutting everything out and creating a utopia, literally putting on rose-tinted goggles or whatever.
Like just head in the sand, ignoring.
Except it's head in the box.
Yeah, head in the box.
Or, sleek, cool glasses that you put on. But yeah, that's what I was telling you. Like, I think the metaverse is cool, or the idea of it, but I still think it looks a lot like cutting and running. It looks like, well, we can't fix this problem, so we'll add another layer of paint onto the house, even though the foundation is rotten.
And you start seeing like the foundation issues leak through when like that woman, she was like a beta tester for whatever their VR world is, Event Horizon or whatever they call it.
Horizons, right?
It's Horizon something.
Yeah.
And she's like walking around in it, and she gets sexually groped. They said she gets virtually groped.
Okay.
And they still didn't explain what happened. I guess you usually don't. Well, no, in cases it'll be like, yeah, I grabbed her buttocks or whatever they'll say. But in virtual groping, you have to say like what happened, because no one knows what that fucking means. Like,
right. That's probably not programmed into the game, so it's someone manipulate. I don't know this game. I assume it's.
I don't know the rules. I don't know the physics. I don't know. What I assumed it was is some guy came and teabagged her, and
Right.
she didn't play shooting games, so she's like, why is this happening to me?
Right.
But I don't know, because I don't have context.
Yeah. I think that's the reskinned VR chat that I heard about, because VR chat's been around for a while. I think Facebook just bought it, reskinned it, and said metaverse, and we're like, we're still so far away from what the vision is supposed to be. But in the meantime, yeah, people are going to be getting teabagged and groped, or their personal space will be invaded. But what was her solution?
Well, no, yeah, the whole thing was, okay, the Band-Aid we're going to put on this is we're going to put what the equivalent is of a 4-foot bubble around you virtually.
Nice.
So I guess if it's a stranger or someone not in your trusted network, which, I think you can get groped by anybody. So, who knows?
Right.
That probably won't work.
It's usually someone you know.
Yeah. And so there'll be whatever 4 feet is in Event Horizon, that the person will then it'll just be that person just gyrating and like doing that kind of stuff. And
no touch.
Yeah. You'll have to look away from them. But in the virtual world, unlike the real world, they can like fly and transport. So it's like, and they could just turn into a giant penis that wags at you, and then you have to block them or shadow ban.
Well, yeah, I was saying I think the solution there is you get meta with the metaverse, where what one person sees is not what another person sees. So the person who's detects that you're doing unsavory things, but the other person sees you doing like a happy dance, or you're giving them flowers, or like you're just changing the reality, and then the person who's doing horrible behavior is being like applauded and like, you're so great, but it's all fake. It's all
it kind of
real.
turns into like Ghost Dad or something, like shadow
Explain
banning. Well, here's my equivalent. So shadow banning in the regular world is just like, okay, you type stuff, you don't know that people aren't seeing it.
Right.
But if you're shadow banned in the metaverse, it's like Ghost Dad for a lot of reasons, because you're drifting around, no one can see you. You're like, you're having a great time and you're still exposing yourself to others. They just can't see you. You're still putting the thing in the drink.
Yeah, was that the plot point of Ghost Dad? Was he was?
Yeah, he's a ghost
in,
putting roofies and quaaludes in girls' drinks.
A romance to keep alive, and a secret to keep.
The movie was ahead of its time. It was in a lot of ways.
It was a think piece.
Yeah, I feel like you have to do that because, like we said, the foundation is rotten, which is going to be. The bubble, I think, is a great reactionary method.
Yeah. It's going to be so fun seeing the reactionary, just the patches in the dam, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
It's because, at the end of the day, you can't stop people from being awful, but I guess you can put them in their own purgatory, and they don't know they're in purgatory. So that's probably what it's going to look like. But this whole conversation started because we still want to do those Wikipedia articles that we did for Rook, but the joy of those is, okay, what's a futuristic Wikipedia article where you get to invent history, but you do it in this really streamlined way. And I mentioned saying I saw something about the metaverse, forget exactly what it was, but I said, like, I can't wait to see the first trial in the metaverse. And then you sent me something of, like, some guy, like a hitman, like asking, how do I murder people in the metaverse or something like that. I'm like, oh my God, it's only a matter of time.
Well, the hitman stuff is funny because, like, the whole thing I think anyone wants in a game usually are stakes. Like, whether they can put a finger on it or not, is you want to have some sort of way to die or take a hit or something like that. Otherwise, you're essentially, metaverse is playing on cheat mode, God mode, because you can't be killed. You know, you can't. You have well, except the money thing.
Right, well, yeah. I mean, that's why survival games are so popular. Things like EVE Online, where it's like one server, one life, and if you lose it, you got to start all over. And it's like that's what makes it. You know, it makes it fun for people. For some people, that's not for me, and it makes it fun for a lot of people to watch. That's why, like, battle royales are so popular, because it's that whole thing about, you know, you versus 100, and the stakes are so high. But in something where you can respawn over and over and over, it's just not as much fun to watch.
No, and I was thinking about, like, in the metaverse. So originally, a long time ago, there was this guy. So these parents had this kid who was just spending all their time in fucking WoW and wouldn't leave the room or whatever, and just hated the parents, and the parents just didn't turn off the internet. I don't know what the deal was.
They didn't know
so the easier route for them was they hired this professional hitman in WoW to find their son and destroy him constantly wherever he appeared, and take him out to demoralize him and make him never want to play the game again. And it took, I think, 3 or 4 months, but eventually it worked. Like, the kid, he was like, fuck this, fuck it, like, I don't want to touch that game anymore. And they paid the hitman, you know, whatever they paid him. And I was
so much more complicated.
I know,
just putting up a firewall that says Warcraft doesn't
or having
work
a discussion
anymore.
with your kid, like, that's cutting and running. You know, it's not like, it's creating this elaborate solution that I ended up writing a script with a couple of friends about it, you know, that was based on it. But it's completely like, it's pushing that off and going some other Band-Aid route, a very creative one. And I mean, it's really funny to think of this guy just destroying this kid constantly in this game. But, like, in the metaverse, you know, you're gonna want. I imagine since people have avatars and whatever, like, and people are going to be just as pissed off at each other as they are now. You'll target people and you'll follow them around, and it's not like there's something visual about it that takes it to the next level, because if it's a username or it's a whatever, you know, I imagine it's going to be harder to change avatars, but I don't know. Like,
I mean, the whole thing is, right now it's a buzzword, and it's for me, it's the same as you know, everyone's trying to crack this nut, whether it's crypto or game streaming services, you know, if it's Stadia or Xbox Cloud or whatever. It's like,
you're talking about the keys, like the random
No. Well, I'm saying there's different technologies that people are trying to crack because they want that next thing. So like I was saying, crypto and blockchain. There's like everyone's trying to figure out like what's going to be the one, or is it all of them, or we still don't know yet. You know, NFTs, it's all new. And then Google just announced they're closing down Stadia, which is their cloud streaming. So you don't actually own the console. You're getting a video feed of a console in a server farm somewhere, and it's sending video, but it's just not as good. Everyone's trying to figure that out because once you do that, you kill piracy, you control the entire ecosystem. The problem is it just plays like shit. The Xbox One is actually not bad. It's actually fairly decent, and like it, all signs point to it's going there. We're just waiting for that thing. So like metaverse, it's like, look, we're still trying to figure out how VR headsets work. We're still like the Quest is pretty cool and it's close, but it's still like you're still gonna walk into your wall. You know, like the controllers aren't that great.
The first murder in the metaverse, it's like, what does that look like? It's you. I don't know. You somehow. I mean, it's got to be some sort of virus thing that you can see that it destroy. You'd have to create the death sequence, you know, so you'd have that satisfying visual element, but behind the scenes it'd be you know, destroying their fucking computer, and you're like,
well, so I was saying what's probably going to happen, it'll all play together. I don't think whatever Facebook is building is going to be the one. I think it's going to be a sort of a blockchain run thing. It's just slowly killing the world or quickly killing the world. But it is something like that where there are stakes, and it's not a company creating a walled garden and being like, oh, no, you can't, we're not going to animate, you're not going to put in a death animation. Like, no, it's going to be created by the people. It's going to be a Web3 backed thing where when you die, you lose your house or you lose your home. Like it's going to...
Or you lose your coin purse or whatever.
Right,
you know?
yeah, you can get robbed in this thing.
Which would be fucking awesome.
Yes and no.
Like, well, I mean, it depends if you're doing the robbing or not, but yeah, like, I mean, it'd be awesome to hold up, maybe that's the first thing, is the first mugging in, you know, virtual space.
Well,
like,
you get tastes of that in, what is it, Grand Theft Auto 5. They have the, I don't know if you ever did this, but on GTA Online, it was like you can rob stores.
Yeah.
And they have the mic input, and the louder you yell, the faster they put the...
yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, we're getting there.
Well, that's the thing, is I wish Facebook would have just... Look, I hate Facebook and Meta, but if they would have bought Rockstar and the whole Grand Theft Auto engine and be like, this is what we're building it off of, I'd be like, you know, I like where they're going with this.
Everyone's a criminal.
Yeah, everyone's a criminal. They're all flying.
They all have bad skin.
Yeah.
That's probably more what it's going to look like. But we're still years and years away from this stuff. So in a way, whatever company rises from the ashes of Facebook because they're losing a bunch of money on this stuff, I'm not saying they're going to go away or anything, but like, I think they're creating the building blocks for what the world will eventually, whatever this matrix metaverse thing, whatever it ends up being. It's like you're already seeing it. You're seeing people glued to their phones, and like, you know, there'll be a car crash out in the distance and they won't notice. So it's like we're not that far removed from being able to just strap something to our head or their glasses or whatever, and you're just sucked in this world and it's going to have real life consequences. Quantum computing is going to play a part in it somewhere, where there's some digital nut that we cannot crack because we can't even see it yet. But once that happens and it all becomes this seamless thing,
then we'll have the
trial. Yeah.
In
like in the vein of metaverse or whatever, it's like Snow Crash, right? That's what it was based on, where there's a virus that kills people in the metaverse, but then kills you in real life, which is, you know, another thing like the Matrix took from and all that. So it's like, is that what we're talking about? Or is it like they killed my avatar, but now that my avatar's dead, I can't represent myself, so there needs to be a trial that I can, like a ghost ad I can watch?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that what it looks like?
I think at first it is. It's basically like if, you know, I think they have trials in like Second Life or something, or like there's some sort of, you know, basically people gather around you and go, get the fuck out of here because we're tired of you jumping on the table while we're trying. Like,
right.
When I was in college, we had this class that would meet in Second Life, and there would always be, because you just do whatever, like the professor would be talking and not paying attention, and people would just be jumping like on tables and doing whatever, always. And like eventually if you're just being too much of an asshole, people will just gather around you like Sim style or whatever, and they'll just like get the fuck out.
Mob justice at court.
Yeah. I was telling you, I was like imagining like big trials if they were now happening in the metaverse, and like the O.J. Simpson trial, like being able to pick your avatars while you're doing like Johnny Cochran he just shows up as Martin Luther King like during the trial,
but like in a teddy bear outfit. So it's just like ooh me.
Yeah. And O.J. sitting there in his Buffalo Bills uniform and his helmet, just like. But still, it's like a nice, like big helmet. It's like comical, like a child. Like
the NFT Heisman that's just sitting on the desk, and he's just like, well, and the jury's like, okay, that's right, yeah.
And then Marsha Clark or whatever, she's like a bald eagle with an American flag, and everything she says, she's like, And
Chris Darden is just a much smaller eagle, or or it's just Chris Darden.
Yeah,
he's like, this is awesome.
I couldn't find an avatar.
This is really fucking stupid. Can I just do my job?
But they get like Mark Furman up there or whatever, and he's they're telling like, what was they saying?
They find all the times he said the N word, or like they play it like in a, what was it? They have all the evidence.
They have like every time you use the N word like in games and everything else like that. But the defense is like, Your Honor, we can't. This is not admissible because we've all said the N word in games, and we can't. And like they're like, but he also had a blackface avatar. And they're like, again, Your Honor, we have all appropriated these things. And they're like, okay, so like Mark Furman isn't even a factor anymore. They're just like, because online is so racist. They're like,
it's just like, look, is he any worse than any one of your peers? Yeah.
And the jury is just like jumping in place. Like,
I do like the idea of a metaverse trial just looking like a fever dream of where, like,
well, especially when all of the like OJ's defense team doesn't coordinate and they all show up as Martin Luther King one day and they're all sitting there just, it's just everyone like, when they walk you through the crime, like each juror has to be Nicole and Ron Goldman, so like
so they see it from their perspective.
They see it from their perspective, and the prosecution can make the killer like a double OJ, like he's just like even bigger, and he's got like a chainsaw or whatever. They can dramatize it, whatever.
We're like, we're not saying this happened, but this is what could have happened. Yeah, you're just burning these images into people's mind, and they're like, but no, this, then the defense says like, well, no, this could have happened. They're like a rogue pigeon drops like some scissors, they fall, and then a tornado comes and takes the evidence away, and you see all, that could have happened.
No, it's like Nicole and Ron Goldman show up talking about how they, they're really jealous of how great a football player OJ is and how such a great Hurt spokesman he is, and they should do something about him and take him out, and they like, they have like pipes and all this other weaponry or whatever, and OJ's sitting there like he's about to write a check to charity, and they attack him, and
that'd be great, like trials of the future where it is just a complete mockery and a joke at this point, when they're just like, let me paint a picture for you, and it's doing it in real time, and you're just seeing the most asinine, incorrect things, but it's just because it's like, instead of theater of the mind, it's just theater of the Unreal Engine.
Yeah, right.
Whatever. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm more trying to realistically.
Right.
A trial will only make sense if there is like, that's what I'm saying. Like if and when the metaverse becomes like the internet, where it's not really a regulated thing, but there is some sort of enforcement around it, and the government just carves out their own little window, and they're like, okay, we have to show up to court. Like
they have trials over Zoom.
Exactly.
Right
now. Yeah. So it's like, okay, you can show up to court in person. That's going to take forever. Or you can quickly do it in the metaverse, which won't be called metaverse. You could do it online, and then it's like, please dress nice, and you have to like dress your avatar in a suit and all that stuff. And so it's like,
but the government has only like gives you $5 for an avatar. So
right. Yeah. The jurors only get $2.50 a day.
Yeah. It's an ill-fitting avatar. It doesn't quite. It's like old used avatars that have been sold.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just crusty old, like.
Well, they're old characters too. Like it's whatever didn't work. Like Disney characters that didn't catch on. So like you get that at a whatever.
You say that, but they still just hold on to everything.
Right.
I guess it's going to be stuff that's in public domain.
Right,
So
it's public domain avatars.
It's just everyone's Tarzan or Winnie the Pooh. Just like, well, they're available, but yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to be a lawless land, and things like Ready Player One try to paint this picture where it's like it's all owned by one corporation. Like, they can try, but I think more realistically, what's going to happen is it's going to just be a Wild West. It's going to be a big open area that it costs money to buy. Like, there need to be stakes. It needs to be like crypto or anything like that. You need to invest into it, and you're like, I'm going to buy a stake of land here, and I'm going to open a business and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, well, where does it go? It's like it just goes into the economy, whatever it looks like. Like I said, I'm not qualified to talk about this sort of stuff. Yeah, it's a lot of really smart people will figure this thing out, and gas prices will just go through the roof because of the energy costs.
I was thinking, like, it'd be really cool to, I mean, it'd be when you go to like Russia's version of the metaverse and you're there, like, dealing with that, like, they're just any kind of like, the hope would be I could go to, like, you know, communist China's metaverse and go in there and see what's going on, and
You'd
then
be able to peek over the firewall.
Yeah,
the Great Firewall.
the Great
China.
Firewall.
Yeah,
Man,
you're just like, huh? They all look happy. It's weird. There's a lot of cameras.
they're all pandas. What is that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, our concept of whatever this thing is going to be, much like Facebook and everyone else, is so juvenile and so. It is. There's something missing. There's, with every great science fiction movie, book, or whatever, you see things like, you know, 2001: Space Odyssey, even Fortress, right? We're watching that, and there's security cameras everywhere, and they're like, they put the prisoners in those ISO cells, and like, prisoner, are you ready to talk and tell us who did it? And it's like, you have cameras.
You saw who did it.
Yeah,
Red saw you.
Yeah, but it's like that whole world exists because the internet wasn't. There was no real networking or anything like that, or the same kind of security infrastructure just wasn't. It didn't make sense in the writer's mind, or, you know, something like, you know, Clockwork Orange or whatever, where it's like, you know, cassette tapes will just be smaller. Or
Well, the writer's mind, they're like, Christopher Lambert needs to take responsibility for this. How do we get him to do that, even though we were recording it the entire time?
Right.
And Red saw him do it, and it was like, I know he did it.
Yeah.
I need him to say responsible, you know, whatever.
On that note, I do like the idea of a prison cell that burns you, where the torture is you need to stand.
I told you, it's to scare people. Like that
Yeah.
those movies, it's just to make you frightened. You know, it's for some people, it's just prison porn. Like it's like the people who watch prison movies or prison documentaries. And it goes back to the whole thing, like, it's satisfying to see someone's life who's more messed up than your own.
Right.
It both serves as you better stay in line or else, and also, look at these people. Your life is so much better than theirs. You know, you thought your life was bad. It's actually really good, even though your life still sucks.
Yeah. Just by comparison in this moment, yeah. But I like that their punishment was that of a McDonald's employee.
Or stand in place.
Stand in place, yeah. Like, and they're just so tired. Like, you just gotta stand. It's not that. Just use your freaking legs. But it's the future. I get it. They're malnourished.
Yeah.
The year 2017. They all had work from home jobs, so
They'd only been standing there for 2 minutes.
just leaning into these.
And the small, like, squirrely guys, I can't do it anymore, man. I love sitting.
It's only been 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Chill out. But yeah, that. What was I going with that? Anyway, I'm just saying that the sci-fi concept of, like, with, like, no one saw smartphones really coming in the way that they did, and then the way they took over, and now that our reality has been shaped by rectangles that we keep in our pockets, even that's probably a temporary thing. I don't know, but, like, yeah, the metaverse is missing this key component, this key ingredient, something that has not been
The
invented
4chan
yet.
element of chaos.
Maybe. Oh no, I mean, that's always going to be there. There is a technology, some chip, it might not even be a chip, you know, some biological thing that you put into you, where now somehow you unlock a part of your brain where it's like, okay, we're no longer constrained by outlets. You know, now it's like we're eating certain foods to power the chips in our brain, or it's not even
Amino
that.
acids.
Amino acids. Now, you know, I say chips in our brain, where it's like, you know, it's something so close, like, but someone's gonna figure it out.
Well, friend of the show, Elon Musk, I was just reading about his
Neuralink,
his chips that he's gonna implant in poor people that are blind or whatever he's doing. Like people who like don't have
money.
It's like vision or something. It's something. There's a medical thing or reason I think for it, and that's gonna be the in. It's either gonna be the thing that will develop the technology is either war. Or it's usually just war usually, but like if they can get an in with like some sort of medical issue, like this is so people aren't blind anymore. You put this thing in and they can see everything around them, and you know what? You can tap into their vision.
Ads.
Meta.
Oh,
yeah, like
yeah. I see what you're saying. Like going back to the Stadia thing, they were talking about like the technology to stream a video game to your phone or whatever is pretty cool. Hold on.
Yeah, get rid of it.
No, it's just like I can feel the sinus attacking. It's the
me. Oh yeah.
It's the dog hair that's lodging in my head. No, so it's that thing where like the technology started out for something, right? But then it's like, well, it can also be used for something else. Maybe meta, that sort of thing where it's like a server that can stream video game level worlds or whatever. But you don't need the equipment at your house. So it's like it's being streamed from a server farm somewhere else. And it's like, okay, if we just improve and then also Elon's making internet satellites, that do 500 megs a second. So at some point it's like, okay, well now you just can't escape the internet with 5G and everything else, that it's like, okay, it's just being beamed into you at all times. So yeah, and it might be an implant, but I still think people are gonna be resistant to implants. I don't know. You need to make it a watch. You need to make it something that's not probing you.
The way you get around that, the way people have always gotten around those things is you get influencers to get the fucking, the injection chip or whatever. And they go, use my code to get 20% off your wrist chip, or whatever. And that's all it takes. Like, I mean, this isn't a direct comparison, but go with me on this. On Instagram, I feel, and this may just be anecdotal evidence, a lot more women are getting breast implants because they're on Instagram and they're seeing these fitness women or models, whatever the case is, and they're like, wow, they look great and they are stacked. And then they look in the mirror themselves and they go, I'm not as stacked. And they go, well, how do I do that? And it's like this perpetuating thing because you're seeing this like idealized version of this person, and they've inserted 2 chips in them to, make them bustier. And so all these women are like, I feel like I need this, I need this, I need this. And it's the same with guys. They'll take supplements to get shredded, even though they don't know those guys have not drank water in 4 days. And they've, been just having diarrhea for a week.
It's also steroids.
Yeah, steroids or whatever. It's just, if it gives you if it's the perception of a better life and you've got this person you look up to doing it, then you will get that chip.
Right.
And
it's all market data research anyway. I mean, Instagram owned by Facebook, Meta, whatever. It's like, well, that is already kind of metaverse-y, where it's like you're influencing people's perspectives of themselves. So it's like, someone at Meta's like, what if we own breast implants?
Yeah. It's that thing. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if, they're like, we have and their way of pitching would be it's a safer material that never needs to be replaced, never sags, whatever. It's a lifetime warranty. But like, look, if you want to get breast implants that make you feel good, and some people
talking
have
to
cancer, I'm talking to you. Do whatever. But I think again, a broad stroke here, from what I see, and some of the research I've been doing, I think
furious research,
chafing research on this topic. But you covet things. It's just people. It's natural what you do.
Right.
And if you see this kind of thing, like if it's people with chips being implanted, you're gonna be like, well, it is kind of cool. And what, I can take it out at any time? Yeah. You just
you stop paying for it and it just
women take dissolves. Women get birth control whatever capsules into their arm.
Yeah, but they're also tracking modules.
Yeah, they are.
The Apple AirTag birth control.
Well, it has your body count inside of it. It knows every different person you've had sex with, and it uploads it to the cloud.
Yeah. It takes samples of them.
And your insurance goes up as however many sexual partners you've had.
Cool to download sperm donors from the cloud.
Or like you're just a jealous boyfriend, like, how many dicks? And you
scan their arm. No, you make a really good point with the birth control thing, because like that is an implant.
It's an implant, and it lasts for 3 months or 6 months, depends.
That's what they told you.
Yeah.
No,
babe.
Yeah, I haven't seen a a technology company like Apple or Microsoft or whatever truly break into that, other than the watch game, the thing of like it reads your sweat glands or your where when you sleep, and we'll measure those sorts of things. But like the biometric data is there, and they are doing the face scanning and stuff like that for biometric security, fingerprint scanning, that sort of thing. But like I'm really excited for the day when they have the Apple One More thing, and it's
just the portrait, like it's Christopher Lambert. It's like,
like we have teamed up with the greatest dentist in the world who will drill these
and red. This is a new chip.
Yeah, we'll put it in your tooth, and you swallow these and introducing the intestination.
Zuckerberg, random intestination.
But like take the scene with Christopher Lambert and the robot cock in his mouth, but like switch it out with a smiling, happy influencer type. Yeah. Just like, yeah, this is great. And then it's like, it's simply good. Yeah, it's like, how do they do the tampon commercial, or with the blue water? Like, how do you sanitize it? How do you
I think they did that for adult diapers or tampons. I don't remember.
Not tampons. I'm sorry. It was like not the pads. Yeah. It was like more absorbent, and it's like, but then they did the
iced tea.
The oops. I crap my pants, and they're like, look how much iced tea it can hold. Great vision with the lemon.
Yeah.
Just sloshing in there. But yeah, it's that sort of thing too. When they're like more absorbent, you're like, why is it always blue? And it's like, oh, because red it makes us feel icky and gross. And so it's like, how do you sanitize something which is so inherently gross, which is our own bodies and our insides and stuff, when it's like,
when you put the chip in?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it needs to be something, like it's going to be like an earpiece, or because to do like an eye implant and like sell that to the public, how do you, it's got to be contacts or something, right?
Could be just a patch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, yeah. That's
again, go back to birth control, or that's even smoking.
Yeah.
What are you on? I'm on Metaverse.
Yeah.
Trying to quit. I'm at 5 milligrams of Metaverse a day.
It's a gum with some eye drops. So like it's a weird mix of LSD, but it's fine.
What are you doing? Yeah. Smoking a little internet.
Yeah. I'm seeing too much of you. Yeah. I'm better now. Yeah. The true e-cig.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that would just be really weird to like have this weird hybrid of like a drug. That's more like what's it called? Nexus. That was the Nexus series, where it's like you take a pill and the world becomes networked through their brains. I was like, it feels like this could be a daily pill.
Yeah.
It'd be odd to just take it once, like just from a business perspective. You want to
you
want to re-up, right? You want to subscribe and save.
The cutting and running. You were talking about something earlier about. I don't remember what you were
I was just saying
with
I was just saying that the whole meta thing just irks me, because it feels irresponsible, and it reminds me of myself, where a lot of what I just feel like inadvertently I've been taught was, if something's hard in your life, you cut it out and run away. I won't get into like hyper details or anything like that, but like I've been in my childhood, everything was taught to me was like, hey, if a family member or someone in your life is being too complicated, you cut that out, you move on, you ignore them.
But that's taught now too. Anyway,
yeah.
Well,
I was just saying that was never explicitly said to me. That's just what I learned, and then just seeing patterns in my life and looking at them, like, oh my god, I was subconsciously repeating these patterns instead of turning around, taking ownership, and saying like, no, why don't I look at the mess that I made, or talk to the people that I hurt, or, at least just overall take responsibility, as opposed to saying like, nope. And that just seems to be, when you really look at it, you see shades of that everywhere. And for me, when I saw Meta, it was like, rather than addressing the problem, we're just going to do a new, look over here. Look at, we're rebranding. And it's like, wait, rebranding is not taking responsibility or making anything better, because what you're just saying is, too bad it's this way, but now that's got a new coat of paint. This pig is twice as sexy.
Yeah.
Look at its lipstick.
I mean, same thing growing up. And I mean, it's something I still, I want to say in the last 3 or 4 years, I've definitely turned a page on that way of thinking of well, whose responsibility was it? Or like, what, was I really the cause of this? Or just, again, shutting people out, like, if they do something or whatever, it's like no hope for them, and just like moving on. And because again, like what you said, I was learning that from family and the people I was surrounded by, and it took a long time to get to the point where it's like, no, that does nothing. You can't pretend like what something you did, like if you do something, you can't just pretend like it never happened, not address it, not learn from, not, it's sticking your head in the sand, pretending like something didn't happen. I would do that all the time.
Yeah.
And like also cutting people out, like I said. And I feel like it's a different coat of paint has been put on that same ethos in like social media things I see, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's the good, Genesis is good vibes only or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, I'll see something on Instagram, some post, so it's like, if, cut the ones out that you don't need and get the ones that you do, and brunch on Sunday, or whatever the little thing
Expand
it says.
your echo chamber.
Yeah, and you're just like, man, that's cutting and right, because it's not, it's just kind of, the bridge is gone and whatever, it's fine, move on. But also, you're not addressing something that could be within you, that maybe it's a learning thing that you need to do with someone else, or eventually you cut enough people out of your life and then you don't have anyone there, like
it's the thing I see with any group that has ever tried to do the master race thing, where they're like, only blue eyes and blondes, or whatever you want it to be, right? Like, this is the one thing, and it's like, eventually that's just gonna get distilled.
I like how
until...
you did the Nazi jump. Like, all right.
Well, I mean, it's the prime example, but in a similar way of the whole, like, we're just gonna cut out the things we don't like, but then it's like, okay, then what do you do when you did that? Because you're gonna feel there's gonna be some emptiness where it's like, well, now we're gonna cut out this thing and this thing, and then you're just chopping away, rather than what I feel is the healthier option is to go, well, be more accepting, or at least looking inward and going, what does it say about me that I'm trying to cut this stuff out? Like, this makes me uncomfortable, so I'm just going to put my fingers in my ears, or I'm going to say like, ignore, and like, I think it is just more of a symptom of a bigger, unhealthier thing. It's a very wide spectrum. So I'm not saying the people who don't want to hear, Justin Bieber fans are the same as Nazis.
Close.
But cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
No. I'm just seeing shades of similarities of that whole thing of like, stay out of my clubhouse sort of thing. It's like, well, at some point the clubhouse gets pretty small because you've kicked everyone out, But
it's going to be perfect with something like the metaverse, right? For continuing that mindset of cutting and running, because I think I was telling you how when I was a kid, the good version of it, I guess, for me as a kid was like, I just sit and play Grand Theft Auto Vice City and Gran Turismo for 12 hours in my room and escape. And I mean, as a kid, what are you I don't know if you have the facilities to face the things that are bothering you, and fucking up your life, or the things that you're doing. No. Well, as a kid, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, in a similar way, I guess that's kind of what I was taught. It was like, video games is a way to escape reality. The first time I got into a car accident, I was taking class.
Playing a video game.
Well, I needed glasses.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't. It was less about that, actually. It was more of I didn't know how to deal with pressure in traffic situations. I was leaving a college. I was taking night classes when I was in high school. I was like, oh, I can finish stuff up quicker if I go to the college. And it was like just such a different world of like, oh my God, everyone drives here and everyone's really angry and like honking and stuff. And like, I tried leaving out of the parking lot, out of a part that was just super crowded, and people were just behind me, just getting real aggressive, and the traffic was not stopping for me to make a right to pull out of there. And at some point, I just gassed it because it was just so much pressure. I mean, I'm 16 at this point, 17 maybe, and I just rammed into somebody. And I remember that was like one of those really anxious nights where I'm like, I just couldn't sleep. I was just like on edge. I was like, I almost like I didn't. No one was hurt. It was just like. It was just really stupid. She was like, what were you doing? And I'm like, I thought I was clear. I don't know. But it was like, it's because I saw these lights flashing their high beams at me and I didn't know what to do. But I remember that entire night just playing Max Payne because I was like, and that like helped. But then I realized I was like, that's not good. That was me escaping. That was me doing like a dopamine swap of I'm feeling a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear and shame and all this other stuff, and I'm just going to go escape into a virtual world because of my own anxieties. And I was like, that was not. I learned a very unhealthy habit from that point moving forward, which is if things are hard, I can escape.
Well, it could have worked if you needed that like settling of nerves, and you did that, and then if you had the tools at the time to then after you play Max Payne, you're like, okay, why did I do that in traffic, and you know, or why was I anxious there? But instead, you don't have those tools at the time, and it takes you 20 years to get those tools. But you don't have those tools at the time, so you're just like, more Max Payne, like
yeah, it was cutting and running in a way of not addressing the real issue, which was I have a people pleasing problem. I was more worried about the guy behind me and what he needed as opposed to driving safely. And like I ended up putting someone's life in danger. And thank God no one was hurt or anything like that. And the side of the car that I hit was thankfully the passenger. Oh, I mean, thank God the car was empty. It was only a driver. But like that was a really stupid decision that I did based on the person. Now I just don't care about the person behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nor should I.
We almost got into a wreck last night because I didn't care about.
That guy was going 60 and a 35,
yeah.
So
that would have been really bad.
I'm at that point. No one was in the right, but he was less in the right.
Well, I think I was completely in the right. Let me tell you why.
Go for it.
Well,
Your Honor.
I don't think what you saw was as I was pulling out, he had swung around that car. They were both going really fast, and the reason why I went on the outside lane is because I didn't see him. Because they were both racing, or I guess swapping back and forth, and that Mercedes happened to be behind that other car. And so as I came out, I was like, okay, I'll go in the far lane. This guy's going to zip past me. Well, that's when Mercedes came out. They're neck and neck, and they both braked at the same time. And I looked in the rearview mirror, and I was like, well, we're going to get hit. And I had nailed the gas already to lessen the hit, and I think I said sorry too.
You were doing like sorry.
Yeah.
Doing that thing, but like your body and your mouth were doing two different things.
I know.
Like the sorry while you're gunning it was really weird, but you said it was just your instincts kicking in.
Well, it's from my street racing as a teenager in the undeveloped neighborhoods during high school, which is real. I used to do that.
Yeah.
We'd street race every few nights. Mm-hmm. That's where I learned all my tricks and.
Learned what NOS was.
Yeah, that was during the reason why everyone was doing that. It was definitely Fast and the Furious had come out, and everyone's like, "Yeah, man." One kid did have nitrous in his car. I immediately blew it up as soon as he used it when we raced, right? Because we do circuits around. They build the streets for the neighborhoods first, and then the houses would come in for 6 months. So it'd be lit streets at night, far off from the main road.
Yeah, with no one.
With no one, and soft curbs because it was new subdivision. So we'd stage these races, and it was really great. Paul Walker died, I think, during it, but whatever.
In the town I grew up in, funny enough.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where he wrecked the Porsche.
He didn't wreck it. It was the other guy driving. I think he was a passenger. That was the.
Oh.
I think that's what.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
whatever.
I remember having some resentment towards media for the longest time because it was always that. It's been happening for a while, where it's like kids are sad because D. Snyder, or Columbine happened because kids play Doom. And I was like, video games are not making me violent. But abso-fucking-lutely, when Fast and the Furious came out, everyone burned out in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Never was really talked about. They're like,
Vin Diesel was never like at Congress being like, "What? I just live my life a quarter mile at a time."
Yeah.
Like,
I relate more to Riddick.
Yeah. God, man, that would be even a lower point than we're at now in Congress. But anyway, yeah,
It was just something that's kind of interesting, which is, I also the responsibility ends up kind of falling on the person, but I was absolutely irresponsible, and in my '94 Civic, I was like, that movie was pretty cool. Squealing the wheels, this salvage little red Civic.
I had a Toyota Supra, so it spoke to me
Oh wow,
personally.
wow,
Yeah.
good on you.
Yeah.
How'd you come by that?
In Baton Rouge, Shreveport, Louisiana. I needed a car. I wanted a car, and I'd been looking and looking, and I wanted a Supra, and my dad was like, "You're not gonna find one. You're just not gonna find one." And he's like, "What about this nice Ford F-150?" And my dad knew I wanted. He's a car guy too. He knew I didn't want like there's a Blazer, an old '70s Blazer, which now would be worth tons of money or whatever. But I was like, no, I want a Supra. And even I was like, there's no way I'm gonna find one.
Not in middle America.
No,
Yeah.
or the South like that. And I don't know how it happened, but we were coming back from he had another business at the time, this tire recycling business, and we were driving back from it. And in this fucking We Finance kind of lot, there was a white Toyota Supra there.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And my dad was like, what the we go in there, we talk to the guy for a little bit, and we're like, can we take it and kind of look at it? He's like, sure. And he probably didn't know that I immediately take it to my dad's shop and get out all the compression gauges and have it jacked up, do all this stuff, look at all this, basically went through the car and then went back and said, hey, here's
I'll give you 10 grand for it.
And he didn't know about Fast and the Furious, so he didn't give a fuck. And
Man. So what did you do you remember what you got it for?
Yeah, I got it for like $5,000 or
That's
something.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
But it was. I found out later why it was. I mean, I had
salvaged or
no, it had 87,000 miles on it, 90,000, which is not anything for a Toyota.
not really, yeah. But I mean,
the head gasket had blown, and then it just started this chain of events because it had not been properly maintained. And I think it had been traded in at a dealership, and then it never sold on the dealership, so they put it at auction, and then it auctioned it, and then it basically got down to the end of the line in Shreveport, Louisiana, at the shitty lot.
Yeah.
And that's the car.
Where I went to retire.
Yeah, and so I was constantly in between, driving it for 8 months, and then 4 months of gotta rebuild everything.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Well, because similarly, was it when I was 16, 17? No, when I was 15 and a half, I started my first job at Magic Mountain, and the whole thing was trying to save for a car.
I forget that you worked at Magic Mountain.
That's where everyone worked, because I lived in Santa Clarita. And it was
Yeah.
that's the only place I would hire people who were prone to steal money from the register. But it was 15 and a half, you get a permit. And I was like, I just want a job. It's looking anywhere to hire me. I remember being 11 trying to get a job. That was my whole childhood, was basically told, get it yourself, because I'm not giving it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that was the mentality I always had, which is definitely shaped who I am in a lot of ways, of don't rely on people, because everyone will just going back to the Cinderella thing. I remember being parental figures being you need to go play football, you're getting pretty chubby, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Go play football. And then it's I hated it, didn't want to do it, and then it came to the season, and they're like, oh, hey, I need the $100 to pay for the bus and the jersey. And they're like, I'm not paying that. I'm like, but I went through hell week. I did all that. But in the opposite way, I saved up for a car, and the deal was, okay, whatever you make, I'll pay for half. So my mom paid for the other half of she also had a just connection through car auctions and stuff like that. But I got a 93, I forget what it was. I think it was 93 Civic, $5,000, had 30,000 miles on it, but it was a stolen recovered.
Yeah.
Overall, really good. pretty good car. The engine did weird stuff. It wasn't a VTEC or anything like that. It was just a standard car. But I was also Fast and the Furious came out, so I'm like, I'm gonna put a new muffler on it. It's like, well, I put a muffler tip on it, so it's like did nothing.
It just sounded like a farting little whatever.
Barely did that. It was just like how can I cheaply do this? I'll put a VTEC sticker on it, which is like, well, that's a lie. Just no taste whatsoever. But eventually, because the car just always had little problems, but then eventually I got hit by an old man with no car insurance, and I was just like,
I feel like you got another Civic, and when I met you, you still had that car. Am I wrong?
I was just kind of jumping through different, like, my mom would cycle through cars, and I would just be like, I was riding a bike for a while, didn't really need them, and so like, yeah, it was like, never really was like big of a car guy, but like until I got the Mustang, and I was like, finally got a cool car, and I was like, this is not a cool car. I remember
you got that car and sitting in there and be like, God damn, Mustangs like never changed. They're just this big, bulky, like kind of clunky. I know you're having fun.
It was because of the movie Drive.
Everything you purchased
is all cars, yeah. No, which is a terrible way of looking at things. But I remember just seeing like that. It's like, what is that car? And it's like, that's what Mustangs look like now. They're pretty awesome. And like, oh, you can get a stick. That's pretty cool. Like, I didn't know you can get muscle. And like, gas was $2 a gallon at the time. Like, gas is gonna be cheap forever, and that didn't last long. So then I went to the Volt, and yeah. So next car will probably be.
You're not gonna have a car.
It's gonna be a flying car. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I like the car talk stuff just because I think the restoration process is really fascinating. I'm living it through you and what you're doing, but like there's something really nice about that, and it feels like something we're losing as we're getting to the metaverse and all that. Is like getting your hands onto something that you own. Is going away.
Well, yeah. I mean, you already in real life you own anything. You lease things. You rent whatever, but if it's totally digital, like I remember one of the first instances they were talking about with metaverse things. They're like, Ferrari's getting into it, and you'll own a 458 or a 488 GTB in the metaverse. Like, what's the point? Like, I wish I could reach out to these people that are about to buy this Ferrari and be like, come in here and come into my workshop and let us hold the welder together, and and so you can be like, oh, this is a physical thing. Let's sit down in this like little speedster Carmen Ghia and feel the wind and the potential death inches away from you. That you can't get in this other
weird
place.
You have a picture of James Dean on your dashboard.
Yeah. It's just it's a bobblehead James Dean where he's just like this, and I'm like, you're trying to get him to move. It's a similar kind of car.
But at the same time too, like I understand it, where there is this gap of essentially of like the idea of owning anything is just so far removed. Also, you shouldn't buy a Ferrari; you should lease it because
it just loses half its value.
Yeah, totally. It's really stupid. But it's more appealing for someone to play a game like Gran Turismo and go like, look at all these cars I own, because it looks real, but you don't have to pay for the storage, you don't have to pay for the gas, all that stuff. So like there's that digital ownership. And then you get into the business of like NFTs, where like there is some now perceived value of it, of like, well, this is actually from Ferrari, and you can run it through the blockchain and you can see it's legit. And so now there's value to this digital item. But it, like all monetary things, everything else, it's all, the consciousness, group consciousness, like it's the belief in the thing of it being real makes it real. So I can see why that makes sense. And then also you'd show someone that and be like, oh, that was really neat, Aaron. I got all this grease on my hands, and
shut up, pussy!
That wind really hurt
Keep
my
sanding.
ears. I think there will always be people like you who enjoy the real nature.
I don't mean it to sound like you need to get your hands dirty kind of thing. I think where it comes from for me, there is that element, but there's also, going back to cutting and running, there's a disposability aspect to cutting and running, to where next.
My phone's a little slow. Give me a new one.
New thing. Yeah. And I think when you kind of live that cutting and running mentality, that things are disposable, moving on, there's less importance on a new thing that you find, the new person, the relationship, the new car, the new whatever the thing is, there's less importance on it because it is impermanent in your mind. It is something that's disposable. So it's like, by bringing someone into my workshop and forcing them to do labor, they appreciate the realness of something, to where it's like, oh, this is a physical thing. That car was destined for a salvage yard. It was gonna be dumped somewhere, and it would have just rusted into the earth and gone away.
Yeah.
And now you can see it in pieces in my garage. But like, it's going to be a driving thing in 4 or 5 months, and it'll be someone will look at it at a Cars and Coffee. Some guy will bring his young kid, and that kid will see it and be like, whoa, that's cool. And hopefully that kid's like, that's a real thing. It's not an NFT, whatever.
Right.
And you would hope that would give them some idea of what permanence is, what something real is, what connection is with a thing, with a being.
Right. Well, I remember I had a teacher, really smart guy. He taught this class called strategy, which is about like, it was mostly just like how to get it's a class that should be taught for everyone, which is like just life lessons and like things that will help you get through your life. But remember, one of the things he always talked about, he was like, I am mechanically just so off. I can't fix a toaster. I can't take something apart and put it back together. My brain just cannot put those things together. So I understand there are people like that with that limitation. But I also stress that anytime something breaks, at the very least, try to take it apart. Just because there is that small rewarding factor of like, the cat water dish stops, and it's a simple thing. You take the filter apart, you clean it out, you put it back together. Oh, it's working. Wow.
It's very satisfying.
Yeah, or like the first time you replace a spark plug in a car or something, or something falls apart, you put it back together, or like, I installed a radio in a car, stuff like that, where you're like, something that feels disposable, or something where you're like, I want a car with Bluetooth. So you buy a new car with Bluetooth instead of like, well, no, you can modify and update the things that you have now. Not that that's what everyone needs to do, but I think it is like a nice, not a rite of passage, but it's like, it might change the perspective of like, well, rather than buying a new bowl, try to put the old one back together just to see if you can. And see if you can salvage something old and
this is kind of getting into the idea I pitched you for a show I want to do, or us to do in the next few months.
Right of
repair.
Right of repair.
RITE.
Yeah.
Right of repair.
I like it. The whole idea of like doing a project and trying to grow as like a person.
Well, it's learning about yourself as you're doing a project. It's because once you get into this zone of fixing something, and it could be, my thought is start small with something. Like it could be find an old antique and like repaint it, like a small thing, and then we can move up to, doing the body work on a Carmen Kia.
Which you're already doing.
No, but the idea, and there's already the movement for the right to repair. That's going around because people are fucking tired of not being able to
which
work
I think
on
is,
their tractors and their phones, and
which I think is being outpaced by obsolescence, planned obsolescence. As much as it's like, we're growing, there's over 1,000 of us. It's like I'm all for that. I think trying to make things last as long as possible is probably the healthier mindset, and then also just I think makes you appreciate things. But we've been conditioned that it's a new year, it's a new thing. You throw away the old thing, or you get some money back for the old thing. But I like where your head's at.
Well, it's just there's a therapeutic element to it when you, again, that satisfaction of when you fix your cat feeder or whatever. But like the putting together a working thing, or fixing it, whether it's an alarm clock or a watch, way too complicated. I've seen the inside of watches, but like little machines or a bicycle or even a motorcycle is not that.
You keep saying that, yeah.
To Zen and the art of motorcycle bands, but you and I could rebuild a motorcycle in a couple months. Yeah. Like make it really nice, like get an old Honda CB or whatever we want to get, and like something that has a lot of parts, so I don't have to fucking go on forums and harass old men for fenders and shit. But like,
why do you have to harass them?
Because they
don't listen.
Well, they put up an ad for instance, the things I've gotten for that car from forums. The ad has always been like 6 years, or it was originally posted 6 years ago, 8 years ago, and they'll update it every 4 or 5 months with the same price. Well, and sometimes they raise the prices on it because they're
Okay.
like, oh, okay, this is now people will really need it, you know, or
Right.
whatever. And so you end up telling these people they're in no hurry to sell it because it's been up there forever. It's just in their garage.
Yeah.
And you're like, look, I need you to ship it. And they're like, ship? To where? I'm like, Austin. And they're like, but that's 100 miles away, you know, and they always put up this hissy fit, but also because they're old people, they'll ship it in this like perfectly designed crate that they built themselves. Like, I'll show you the things that, like, I got a door shipped and they built the crate and cut the form of the door into the wood.
Oh my
and all
God.
this stuff. And it must have taken hours to build this crate because they're retired. So they're
Yeah.
like, I'm going to build this idiot a lackluster crate. You know, you're like, all right. But anyway, what I was getting at is we pick a motorcycle where we can find parts easy and it'll look beautiful when it's done. And you can, the things that you rebuild on a motorcycle they apply to a car. They apply to a machine that has internal combustion or is electric or, you know, has hydraulic anything in it. Like you from rebuilding a motorcycle, you could troubleshoot your refrigerator if it goes out. There's
Right.
there's an interconnectedness to machines, to everything we touch, from these microphones to, you know, whatever, a toaster.
Yeah.
And by building those blocks within you and kind of knowing how your world works, and then also the focus it takes to rebuild these things while you're learning, it's just, I don't know. And you get a little stoned. It's great. It's just there's just this zen you reach.
I think I dig that just because I think I've been recently trying to expand my mind and my skill set into like cooking or repairing or something. And I think I've always been interested, but there's that part of me that gets really frustrated if it doesn't turn out right.
Yeah.
But, you know, 5 briskets later, made a pretty damn good brisket. This old photo popped up. It was the first time I made one, and I was cutting all of the fat off of it because I watched the wrong tutorial. Like, gotta get rid of that fat. Fat's no good. And I cooked it, and it was this tasteless nothing. And then, you know, fast forward a few years later, finally buy a smoker, get the right one, actually do some of the research. Like, okay, you got to do this correctly. But I think also I went in one direction where I'm like, okay, I got the one that kind of like holds your hand while you do it. Like, I kind of want to go back and revert
And
to like
learn I
want to get
building
like
blocks of
get like an actual like a big wood one or something, and like, okay, something that I maintain and I keep an eye on over 12 hours, you know, like that sort of thing. Like, I think what's nice about today is you have those baby steps. You have games like My Summer Car, right, where it's like you can learn to put an engine together from the 1980s in like kind of a cool, interesting way of like, okay, it's a simulator, but like you can dip your toe in and then maybe get your hands on the real thing at some point.
The show I kind of want to do that I want us to do is My Summer Car, but with not just the car, with other starting. You can start small.
I want to do
or
what
a
those.
motorcycle.
I want to do what those guys do in Rust Valley in one day over the course of a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rust Valley Restores like, me and Adam are here, and we got a motorcycle. We're doing it for a client. It's gonna cost about $10,000 to restore. We quoted him $200. You're like, what? And Adam just got bit by a spider, so he's gonna be a little slow.
I was out bungee jumping.
I came to work on a helicopter and I jumped out.
I want to see the other part of the show of like what happens off the outside of the garage. I want to see this guy's apartment.
Well,
where he
they all
lives.
have houses, but I guess the Canadian version of trailer houses way up north. Well, the main guy, Mike, I think he has like a legitimate house. They never show his wife, which I think she ended up seeing the show and she's probably like, I don't want to be a part of this. Like, this is crazy.
Leave me out of this.
But then the guy Avery, who's the insane person who gets
Looks
bit
like
by,
Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, looks like
Yeah.
Ron Jeremy. Wears sunglasses all the time on his head. They cover up what would have been his hairline 20 years ago.
They're flirting with the idea of being
Yeah.
over his eyes, but just very
Just
close.
right on his head there.
Yeah.
And the guy got bit. He's the guy that got bit by a spider. I know he sleeps on a mattress on the ground in probably the back of a semi trailer like bed. And he's got a son who's
Oh my God.
like chip off the old block. It's gonna end up in jail, but hasn't gone to jail yet.
Not quite.
And they're like starting a business together. I think by the end of one of the seasons.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think they started this thing called Wild Boys Restorations or Wild Man Restoration, something like that. And they there's a different show in there where there is what we're talking about. There's a therapeutic element because the guy Mike talks about this is my legacy. This is I love these things genuinely, and everything, no shit leaves the shop. There's this personal aspect to all these things. Yeah. And then they distill it into I cut through my hand with a torch.
Right. I mean, they're obviously
making TV.
Yeah, someone saw them and went, "Oh, this is gold." Yeah, they'll yuck it up. They'll be like, "You should put on gloves, Junior." And he's like, "Hey, don't put on gloves." Yeah. Gotcha. And then burns his hand. He's like, "Should have fucking put on gloves." Yeah.
But I mean, everything they do, everything is dangerous. And but yeah, but it's they have a similar ethos. It's they have this thing within them that they, and they're very mechanically inclined, but they have this thing within them that they need to release. It's almost their art. Yeah. It just comes out as stupidity. But anyway, yeah, that would be our kind of show, my summer romance car. Bless you.
It's coming and going.
You're allergic to the idea.
No.
But it'd be us drinking beer and restoring a motorcycle and me showing you how, to...
Me pretending to listen, or just hearing the tinnitus sort of, yeah, and you're like, now you do it, and I get some room, run up and just jump kick a carburetor. Yeah, ta-da! They go, "Hey, where's the camera?"
Well, did you ever see? Well, you never saw it, but there were these shows when I was growing up that I would watch called Shade Tree Mechanic, and it'd be these two older dudes who. It seemed like they were part of a cult with how they spoke. At least the main guy, he'd be like, "Welcome to Shade Tree Mechanic. We're just hanging out here. We're looking at this Ford Taurus with a blown engine, and we're gonna put some new oil in it or whatever."
It was like a PBS show or something like
it's
that.
It's kind of like that, but it came on a daytime TV, not on a PBS, but
gotcha. Okay.
But I always saw it when I was sick.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of that kind of channel. Okay. And it would always be the main guy saying and here's what we're gonna do with that blown engine, and John's gonna go run around in the back and go take care of that for you, and the guy would just disappear into the garage, or the guy who actually did the fixing would be like, "Okay, he just explained what we're doing here. We're doing this, blah, 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 blah." And the soft spoken guy would disappear to be like, "And I'm gonna go take care of the head cylinder, cylinder head, and then he'd just come back and it'd be fully done, he'd disappear in the back and someone would.
So they took the interesting part out of the show.
Yeah, and that's but it was really it was like dreaming about car fixing. There was something so soft about it and unrealistic. They were never swearing. There was never any kind of the realism of it. It was just this very daytime TV version of fixing these cars that weren't interesting. And I was like, I one day want to do something like that, but not. I feel like it went too far the other way, where it's Hot Rod Restores, and it's fuck you, I can't, fuck, this is our new Camaro, and we're putting the chrome in it, but it's I don't want that either. That's not what people do.
There's meth, there's weed,
yeah,
somewhere in the middle.
Well, it's I think it's barbiturates and meth, they're just on fucking Quaaludes.
Yeah.
We just woke up from a nice nap, and we're gonna.
We had a nice tea earlier, and
John, you were with my wife last night. Did she talk about the car we were working on?
We were both napping.
Yeah. We were both in the love sack.
Yeah, it was pleasant. We spoke of Golden Girls.
Yeah, we said we'd get to the Taurus today.
Yeah, what's the Dos Equis of car repair shows where it's
so funny you say Dos Equis, because I was just imagining drinking a Dos Equis while doing it. Maybe because I'm just thirsty, but I just imagine having a beer and granted, when I was drinking Dos Equis the other night and I was grinding something on the fender.
Grinding on me.
Yeah, I was grinding the fender, grinding metal off the fender, and I set my pants on fire. Yeah. I was 3 beers in. I would never do anything on that car drunk, because
you end it after. I always think of,
except drive it at the end.
I think of Shawshank Redemption, where it's you tar the roof and then you have a nice beer afterwards. That to me is the greatest feeling of, you're not drinking to hurt yourself or to numb the pain or whatever. It's I didn't appreciate that when I was a kid, where it's when you're a kid, I had a beer. It's like, oh god, beer is the worst thing ever in the world. But then it's like, I don't know what it was. Like one day I was like, it's like a really hot day. Had like a beer and it's like, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world right now, and I can't explain it. It's like that. I always liken it to that scene from Shawshank where it's just like,
they're sitting with the
for that moment we felt like free men.
like free men, and it was all because of Andy Dufresne.
And then the Kruger, or what was it?
Yeah, the Kirkin game.
And
There can only be one prisoner.
the Kurgan threw a British man off of the roof for some reason.
And then Red came in and said, "You're all having unauthorized beers. Random intestination.
Time for amino acids.
Yeah.
Just mix
Just
it all together.
up.
It's fine.
But anyway, the celebratory beer is nice. And also, once you do, it's like any kind of creative anything outlet. Like, I can't write drunk because it ends up shit. Like, if I were welding out there drunk, I'd be really pissed off the next day because like, oh wow, I have to cut this all off. This doesn't work. So it's like, part of the show would be celebratory beers or slow drinking throughout.
I was saying you like in the feel too, instead of being meth or quaaludes. It's like having a nice beer at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, that's probably something more my speed of what I would like to make, which is a like, hey, good job, you did good, not Rust Valley restorers of just like. So that's what meth is like. Okay.
Well, there's a weird like. Going into YouTube, right? There's a weird like gap between the successful car YouTubers who they don't do their own work, or they do work that's way beyond what anyone would actually do, like in their garage. Like there's one guy who's cool. I think his name's Tavares or something, right? And he's like always rebuilding these. He's like doing a twin turbo Lamborghini and doing all this crazy shit. He also has too many projects, so he's never like finishing anything, so you don't get that satisfaction necessarily. But like, there's that one end of it, and then the other end are like, there are these 50, 60-year-old dudes that are like, just pulled out Carmen Gia. And I think we're gonna put in this patch panel today. I think this is kind of a hard one. Just like it's again, that's the Quaaludes and this is the meth.
Well, there's I see that all the time too. I was watching a tutorial on like how to make thick burgers. Right, I was like, got a pound of beef, and I was like, how do I make like a really thick hamburger? And I didn't realize you do the puck in the middle. Yeah. But the guy filming, GoPro on his head, he's like, all right, these are gonna cook for 5 minutes. I guess I can fast forward it. And I'm like, no fucking shit. Like, as someone who edits video all the time, I'm just like screaming at the TV of like, what is wrong with you? There is that weird quality gap in quality of stuff like that too. But then like, I don't know. Yeah, I'll there's one video, I have to send it to you. I was looking into car wraps for a while. I was fascinated by them. I was like, oh my God, this whole thing has taken off. And I had no idea like what it takes to like do a car wrap.
Yeah.
Guy was wrapping like an Audi R8 or whatever. But it's very Canadian, like very like Vancouver, Toronto kind of Canadian. And it gets a little weird, almost like a little homoerotic, where he's like, I went to this man and he didn't like, couldn't stop looking at him, and I was just so fascinated. I'm like, is this going into comedy?
So he's just having a stream of conscious. Like...
He's doing VO, talking about this like kind of like a handsome, dumb looking guy, just like kind of like, yeah, I just like to, really big on doing car wraps, and the VO is just like strangely erotic. Like it's like I was almost expecting to go into a comedy. Like, did I just get duped into watching this guy like who? It starts as a car wrap, but he falls in love with it, and he's like. Later that week, I left my wife for this man, and he didn't have me. It's I've been outside his home for 3 days.
See this video.
I'll show it to you. I mean, I might be remembering it differently, but I just remember being up at 2 a.m. watching a car wrap video. I'm like, what the? Like,
both of you are in the wrong in that video, like or in that situation, like.
But that's the other part of me too. When you're talking about making stuff like that or making video stuff, it's like. There's that part of me that wants to be like, well, let's make it a comedy and let's do this. And it's like, no, pump brakes. Like, just make something that we enjoyed or something, but it's also not smelling its own farts.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that's not yucking it up, because again, there's a very real aspect, therapeutic aspect to it and fun aspect. And also like, I spent $1,200 on this car shell. Granted, that was before the world ended, or as the world was ending, and things didn't go through the roof. But you'll be able to find another $1,000 car shell or a $200 bike frame or whatever the case is. Still not a small amount of money, but an accessible amount of money that possibly that you could start working on something,
A street legal version of Tim Burton's Batmobile.
It's a few bags of drugs and you got a car,
Just
do the footwork, pussy.
I fell asleep, and when I woke up, the car was done.
Yeah.
But my hand was missing.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like the final thing I'll say about it is like, okay, my summer car or a metaverse version of things. Like I understand more accessible because you're not having to buy a physical thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Though you're paying for those things somehow. But like, I want to put forth the idea that you don't have to spend a bunch of money to get that tactile satisfaction of something that you finish, that you're proud of, and that you can actually use when it's all said and done, and no one can take it away from you.
Yeah.
So
I like where your mind's at. I'm excited to go on this adventure of.
you can watch me weld before you head off to the airport.
Yeah, flight's not for another couple hours. I mean, and you got a birthday to celebrate, so you should weld.
Yeah, y'all watch me weld, and that'll be the celebration.
Knowing you, your dream is to weld on your birthday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'll do that. And I guess anyone, not that I ever want to get into a dialogue with people listening or watching this or whatever, but it's like, I think if there's any like thing to go out on, it's like, try something new. Try something that's outside your comfort zone. I started a YouTube playlist on my own that just says, this is called Learn Something New. And it's got a bunch of like Blender, not physical Blender, but like 3D design. Like I need to learn 3D design. Like it's just, it's so accessible at this point from where it was when I was young. And I'm like, I need to learn that. I need to learn Unreal Engine. I need to just get outside of my comfort zone and go like, okay, not everything's just in Adobe Premiere. It's like, just because I know that really well doesn't mean I shouldn't try other stuff. So it's like,
When going back to cutting and running, it's very easy to just try something and then abandon it and not, try and get better at something. And, everyone gets discouraged. Just get a beer, take a beer break, and then get back to using the grinder. Maybe wear an apron instead of just sweatpants so you don't end up with a small flame next to your crotch and you're
just
good.
an apron.
Yeah, just an apron. Just my bare ass sticking out of an apron.
Well, I hope someone out there, including myself, goes out and tries something new.
We won't look at them, but I'd like to see projects. You just send me
I'll
projects that you're working on.
I did my pegboard wall. I'll send you that.
Well, I like your but I'm saying like if there's someone out there,
message Aaron.
Message me, send me projects or link me in them.
Share them to me.
Still not your friends, but I'm always interested in tinkering.
Human growth potential.
Yeah. I'm interested in stealing ideas for projects.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I found this new app idea. You're like, cool. Yeah. Give to Aaron. Yeah.
Sign here.
Take to Austin douchebags in big building. Yeah, that'd be nice. We should go.
Yeah.
I do have a flight to catch in a bit, and I do want to watch you weld. So,
one of those is interesting, so I'll prepare you for that.
Bid you a farewell. Hey, Riggs. What's up, buddy?
All right.
I'm almost done being sick from
Riggs in my crotch says it's time.